Welcome to the Glow Getters podcast. My name is Fahey-Ahrndt, and I'm your host. I teach and inspire leaders to step into their productive selves and find their true potential. I'm a passionate creative and scientist with over 8 years of healthcare leadership experience. At age 25, I stepped into my first management role and didn't find the leadership advice I was looking for. So here I'm giving you the tools to end burnout and enjoy a vibrant career and life. Glad you're here to learn and grow with me. Now, on with the show. Hey, Glow Getters. Welcome to the Glow Getters podcast. I'm Kayla and I'm your host. And as always, I'm really excited you're here today because today we're going to be doing part 3 or day 3 of our 5-day series, hashtag May Morning Take Back. But before I get started, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everybody who has been listening to this podcast since its inception. And also for this 5-day series, it's a big deal to commit to listening every single day. And so I just really appreciate all that you guys have done to take the time out of your day to listen to me. I have gotten Instagram messages and DMs and screenshots of the key takeaways that you've had from this podcast, and I just love hearing what you've taken away. Sometimes it's the intended message, and other times it's wonderful things that you guys have reflected on and thought of after I've shared a few things and are sharing that back with me, and I love learning from you as well. So keep doing that. I wanted to mention I'm really excited. This podcast has 5 ratings, 5-star ratings, but no reviews yet. So I would appreciate if you guys could go leave me a review. I don't know if you know, but I tried to leave myself a review just to see what it's like. And if you're using like an iPhone and using the Apple Podcast app, you can actually leave a rating right in the app now. You don't have to go to iTunes, which is cool. So I'm hoping that's similar with other phones and other podcast apps. So let me know what you run into, but I would love it if you could leave me a good rating and review there to let people know that, help them find this podcast. And I just love reading it. And I'm hoping that I can get enough reviews where I can do a listener of the week and call you out on the podcast and say thank you personally from me. So now that we've gone through that, let's dive into day 3 of our hashtag May Morning Take Back. So if you haven't listened to prior episodes, make sure you go back to listen to the preview about what this episode is about, what the series is about, and then make sure you listen to day 1 and day 2, which are the previous 2 episodes. The first one was all about planning our morning, right? So you have done the things, the how you're going to make your morning successful, making sure you're up at the right time that you need to be up, envisioning yourself just going for it every single morning and making that time, stepping into that power and making the time for yourself. And the second part is expressing gratitude. Thanks for the things that you have in your life, things that are going really well, that are positive in your life, that you can focus on the good instead of focusing on the bad, to really shift your mindset to be in a good, positive place for a wonderful start to your day. So this leads very well into today's topic, which is personal development. Some people call it personal growth. I've even heard it called self-help before. So let me tell you a little story about me. So hopefully you know by now, but listening to the podcast, but maybe you don't. So I'm a manager for a large healthcare system in Minnesota, and I'm a laboratory scientist. And so I started in 2015. I started in a leadership role in 2015. I was 25. So I started with a company when I was 22 in 2012 and moved up very quickly I had been a lead and an education coordinator. And then in 2015, I was a supervisor or operations technical specialist, kind of this like weird dual role. And at that time, I had never really saw anybody else that I could relate to. And by that, what I meant was I was the youngest leader at the time around me. The people that I knew were all in leadership positions for far longer and had far more experience than I did. And I found myself leading others who were my parents' age or older. Of course, there were some folks my age and in between that. But I was really looking around and I was like, I don't see anybody that's like me in this situation. And so therefore I felt like maybe this has to be like the first, or like maybe it's just no one is at this stage right now. And I didn't have mentors that were coming from the same place that I had come from, or didn't know anybody at that time. So what I did was I went on Pinterest, where any millennial goes to search things, and I made a whole board that talked about like how to be a good leader, a supervisor, and a lot of like lean and quality improvement ideas and things I would like Google things that I had heard in the day to day that I didn't know. I'd often be in meetings where people were saying these like catchphrases or old school phrases. I was like, I have no idea what they're talking about. So I would scribble those down and I'd go home and I would look this stuff up. Well, that wasn't good enough. I felt like, okay, I really need to get serious about this. Um, how about like leadership tactics and tools for healthcare leaders or for lab scientists? So I looked for that stuff and that felt very specific and I couldn't find anything. Like I couldn't find what I was looking for. Everything was geared towards like physicians, nurses and healthcare leadership as a business. It wasn't really something at that time that I found accessible material for. So what I ended up doing was thinking, okay, well, I guess I need to turn outside my industry. So I was like, well, maybe I can learn from business. So I had this idea. I have a friend who is a CPA, and she would always talk about like the corporate culture. And I was like, it's not really like that at my hospital. But as I started to integrate myself more into being a leader and getting more visibility higher up in the organization, I realized, well, it kind of is. It's all business. It's just the lens or the frame of mind that you're in. So as I learned that and kind of got my head around that, I decided, okay, well, let me turn to business focused podcasts and books to help me understand my job a little bit better, and maybe I can take what I learned there and translate it into healthcare and then in laboratory and then in leadership and then better yet leadership for someone who's really young and has no idea what they're doing. And I don't want to sell myself short here. I mean, I have been president of an organization before, Colleges Against Cancer, at the University of Minnesota. Directors of other, student groups and organizations and all of that, and done a fair share to work really hard to be in this leadership role. So obviously, I had some things there, but this new skill set I was going to need to learn how to manage and work with people and operate in the business world like finance and FTEs, full-time equivalents, and learning how to create schedules for people and deal with personnel issues and human resources. Like that was brand new. So what I did is I ended up turning to Barnes and Noble, whatever bookstore, and I would go to the business section, but also right next to the business section is the self-help section or the development or growth section. And I remember seeing that section thinking, self-help. Ooh, I don't need self-help. That makes me feel like if you're reading that stuff, then wow, you must really need help, right? Like books on happiness is like, I'm a happy person. Like, gosh, if you have to read a book on happiness, well, good luck. And that was my attitude at that time. But so here's the thing, I continue to read these books on business and leadership, and I created my own learning plan and shared that with my boss and my leaders. And people started thinking, like, this girl's doing crazy things. She's doing amazing things. Like, how does she get all these ideas? And I would take these concepts I learned outside of my industry and apply them at my job. And then, like, it was working for me. So, in doing that, I've been able to move into my career into different areas of leadership. And now I am a manager and I have created the current role that I'm in. Like, it didn't exist before I worked at this, before I posed the idea. It was a shared concept from another leader I worked with, but I've grown it and molded it since, and it's what I've created, um, all because of the books I read, the professional development books that I've read. Um, and so I was doing this in my work and career life, but not in the self-help, personal development, or growth life. And then in comes 2018, I had my baby Kate, and I started doing some coaching, health and fitness coaching. And we have four vital behaviors of coaching, and one of them is personal development, reading books about how to be a better person, how to have a growth mindset, how to have a positive, highly focused mindset on the good and achievement and results and gratitude and like creating a life that you want. And I remember thinking like, whoa, self-help isn't this like pitiful thing. It's actually a growth mindset opportunity. And I realized like this is so cool. If I can do this in my professional life and it can take me so far, I can do this in my personal journey of being a better human. Like who doesn't want to be a better human, right? So I started tapping into these books I had never heard of. Um, some of them I had seen on bookshelves. Some of them I had on my own bookshelves, but I never had read. So that's what I want to share with you guys today is if you can become really disciplined in taking in good information every day, you're going to have this amazing growth mindset that's going to take you to new levels, not only in your career, but in your life. So, in my career, I've been able to also take these personal growth learnings because as I get more into being a leader and someone higher up in an organization, I realize like a lot of the work you have to do is based on your skill, but as you become higher up, it's more just your mindset. It's the framework around everything to which you view the world that's going to make you like this most abundant, limitless person. This person that sees the possibilities can be even greater than you'd ever imagined. So for a few of you, this sounds like super woo-woo, and you're like, what is she talking about? But I want you to trust me and let me share what I do every morning to make myself a better human, just improve. And I talk about this on the podcast before, but improve just by 1% every day. You know, wake up in the morning and be it just a little bit better than you were yesterday, and that will compound over time and you'll be totally different than when you finish a book than before you started it. So, all right, so after, let's get into the nitty gritty of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. So, now that I've shared how important personal and growth development is for you, I'm going to give you a few examples of some books to read, but I'm also going to tell you like how I implement this into my morning routine. So, after I get up, and after I write my gratitude, I also then, the next thing I do is I pick up my current personal or professional development book that I'm reading. And I read for 10 minutes. I set an alarm for 10 minutes and I read for 10 minutes. And then I close my book and I move on to the next thing, which we're going to talk about tomorrow. And I learned this skill from the book, The Slight Edge. The author talks about how a lot of people, you know, if you would just spend 10 minutes reading per day, you could read like a million amazing growth books in your lifetime and be able to be an amazing, better human. Oh, but also at the same time, if you spend your time reading like, you know, trashy novels or People magazine, that's the type of information that's going in your brain. You'll only be as good as that information, right? So why don't we take 10 minutes and read something that's uplifting, that's going to make us think in a higher vibration and a better space every single day. I know I've told the story to myself, well, I never have time to read books. Like, who has time to sit still, regardless, like move your eyes along the page. Like in this society where we're feeling so overwhelmed with media that we need to scroll, you know, I bet you spend as much time scrolling or more than you would if you took the 10 minutes to read a book. So this is kind of why I've habit stacked it into my morning routine so that I don't skip it. And now that I've done it every single day forever, like for the last year and a half, honestly, I feel like I never want to miss this. And this is the part of my morning that I always want to do more than 10 minutes. And so if I have more time, it'll go 15, 20 minutes. And I'll find myself like not moving on to the next thing because I just love to take in information and reflect on it and then implement where I can. So they'll grow to really love this. And this is how I end up reading so much, is because I find a lot of books, actually, the chapters are 10 pages or a little bit more, and I can read that much in 10 minutes. So I get through books pretty quickly. Okay, so 10 minutes of a good personal or professional development book every day. Now, personal development or growth, It might just be something like how to simplify your life, right? If you're feeling like a busy, overwhelmed mom, how to like clear the clutter from your house, how to find the time for the things that are important to you. So if you're looking for those kinds of books, my two favorite books at the moment are A Simplified Life by Emily Lay and then The Joy of Missing Out by Tanya Dalton. So both of these women talk about like finding what's most important to you, looking at your family values and really aiming your life and guiding your life based on those values, creating systems in your life. Emily Lay specifically goes into like how it would organize your home or your schedule because she, obviously sells planners and things like that. Tanya Dalton does something similar, but she also relates it to like the person or the mom, the stay-at-home mom who has like a at-home business. So how to do all aspects of your life. Um, so those are my two favorite books for kind of simplifying your systems and looking at your values and creating a life through those two things. If you're looking to be really inspired about how um, your thoughts, kind of like the things, the energy that you place into the world, good energy, that energy comes back to you, how people gain ideas and how like even how miracles happen, like how you get lucky, how you feel like perhaps um, good comes into your life because you've been putting out positive energy. Two of my favorite books are called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. She also wrote Eat, Pray, Love. She's pretty famous. And then Gabby Bernstein or Gabrielle Bernstein, she's also very famous. Her book is called The Universe Has Your Back. Gabby's book goes more into like meditating and just like centering your thoughts, whereas Elizabeth's book, Big Magic, is more about leading a creative life. And by creative, she means like doing the meaningful things that just light you up every day, that make you so joyful. And she talks about how you can do this at any stage of your life. The idea that ideas are living, floating things, and you just have to be open to receiving them. So those are my favorite books for if you were looking to be very inspired and think about like being very mindful. My two favorite books for being like very efficient. Getting work done, moving work forward, are The Compound Effect and The Slight Edge. They both talk about doing the small daily disciplines to move your business or your life forward without being overwhelmed and just reassuring you that showing up every day, even if it's in a small way or a mundane way, is going to give you huge results, compounding over time as long as you stay consistent. And the compound effect, I just finished reading, talks a lot about, Darren Hardy talks a lot about his morning routine. I mentioned it in the previous episode of this podcast. So those are my two favorite books for efficiency, getting more done, being very productive without being overwhelmed or overworked. And my last favorite book that's very much about mindset and also about like goal setting. It's also about like your thoughts, how your thoughts manifest into tangible things in your life is the book Think and Grow Rich. And the book is by Napoleon Hill, written a long time ago, and it's framed about like how to obtain the amount of money that you want. But it's also much more, it goes deeper in that. It's about like how your thoughts make can help you grow rich in your life. So not just like money, but just abundance in all things that you desire, and it's all related to mindset. But this book gives you actual like ways to plan and write down your thoughts and help you reach your goals. So those are some of my favorite books that you can start out with personal development. And professional development, there are so many, and I've given those on my podcast before. And so I'll share in the show notes the PDF I have created that has a list of these books like Your Best Year Yet or Get Shit Done, things like that. And so pick a book. Maybe it's one of the ones I've listed. Maybe you go on Amazon and you think about like what you might need more of in your life. Is it more confidence? Is it more inspiration? Is it more tactical, like how to be productive? and look up books that might have to do with that and order it off Amazon and have it shipped to your house. Or you could, even if you enjoy listening to books, you could get it on Audible. So I just listened to the book Essentialism on Audible. Amazing, amazing book about focusing on only what's important or the essential things in your life to make space for you to do the things you love and say no to the things that aren't necessarily needed. So Audible is a great way to get personal development books in your day, especially if you're like very busy with your kids, or maybe you're doing yard work and you want to listen to something and take it all in. I will say I really prefer a tangible book because if you're like me, you like to really digest what you're reading. And as I read, pro tip, I have a highlighter or a pen, and I will highlight or underline things that stand out to me, and I'll write little notes in the comments. So you'll find any book I've read, if you open it up, you'll probably find something that says like this in capital letters and exclamation points, or like, I need to do more of this, or save for later. And so then what I do after I go through when I'm done with the book, or at the end of each chapter, is I literally will go through what I've read and kind of reflect on that. And that might become one of my gratitude items for the next day. It might become something that I write on a post-it and stick above my desk so I can remind myself of it every single day. And I will tell you, this practice has just opened up my world to a whole new way of thinking and really connected me and had me notice other people who think in an abundant way. And they're all super, very successful people. People like Oprah read this kind of stuff and they become limitless. I mean, really, once your mindset is right, you believe that you can do anything and that you need to set even bigger goals for your life because you know you can obtain just amazing, wonderful things with all the innate talents that you already have in yourself. And you're only going to enhance them by reading personal or professional development. So, with that, guys, I know that was a little longer than the other episodes, but I felt like I just wanted to tell you my story about how the success of reading books and professional development has led me to amazing heights in my career, and how now I'm doing it with my mindset outside of work. And it's just changing everything and making me even better at work and at home and as a person and a human and in my coaching life. So, with that, I'm going to end today's episode. Make sure you identify a book that you're going to start reading and screenshot you listening to this episode and let me know which book you need to read. And if you're needing a suggestion, tag me in that and ask me, and I'll have a little conversation with you. I'll DM you and kind of ask you some questions to help you figure out like what book you might think you might need, and make some recommendations for you. And make sure that you write that on the bottom of your hashtag May morning take back tracker. And once you have picked one, start reading and make sure you check it off the box every day, 10 minutes, set an alarm, and you're going to accomplish that goal. And all of a sudden, you'll have finished your first book and you're going to feel amazing. And you can start implementing at least one thing that you've learned from that. Okay, thanks so very much for listening. I'm excited for you to be with me for this hashtag May Morning Take Back journey. Thanks for listening to episode 3, and I will catch you tomorrow for the next episode, which is all about, you guessed it, movement. Move your body. All right, everybody, have a wonderful day. Talk to you soon.
All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening to the Glow Getters podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a good rating and review on iTunes. It really helps me get this podcast in front of other people. If you'd like to connect with me, please follow me on Instagram at Kayla Fahey-Ahrndt. And you can always check out my website for more content, blog posts, and recipes at glowgetterslife.com. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day.